So you want to become a dentist, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. And like you, many other people do too. Stay tuned as we talk to a first year dental student at UCLA and how she's going to share her journey to dental school. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, new dentist coach, for another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin on the New Dentist Podcast Show, where we talk about getting into dental school, which we're going to talk about today, applying to residency, and then life as a new dentist. Guys, also be sure that you are sharing, liking, commenting, and then also feel free to join this YouTube channel here. This is a channel that we try to get as much information to you on your journey in becoming a dentist or a dental specialist as well. And this content is free, but it's also very valuable. Check down on the links below on ways that you can support the channel. Also, this episode of Ask Dr. Darwin is being brought to you by Dr. Darwin On Demand. Check right down here, Dr. Darwin On Demand, which is the ultimate resource in a community of like-minded individuals that are dentists, that are applying to residency program, applying to dental schools. And we have a group that we meet twice a month. And it's a community that really helps to give you some accountability, but also some resources in your journey in this profession that we call and that we love, called dentistry and oral health. So for more details, just go down, click the link down below and find out some more details. So today, special guest from the West Coast, where I used to live on the West Coast. We have a dental student who's going to share a little bit more about her journey, why she picked dentistry. She's going to talk a little bit about the application process, how she prepped for the DAT. She's going to talk a little bit about her interviews and so much more. So be sure to stay all the way through this way, boop, 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 all the way through, so that you don't miss any of the content. So, student Dr. Maria, hello.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to share my journey.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your journey, especially after you just finishing out orientation at UCLA.
Yes.
So we thank you. So let's dive in. So first question, why dentistry? Why did you pick dentistry? There's a lot of other professions besides oral health, but there has to be a reason. So tell us why dentistry?
First, I chose dentistry right before the summer. I transferred to UCLA. I went to community college, at Norco College, and there I was able to develop what I really wanted in life. I was able to volunteer in my community, translate a little bit. And what really planted the seed was going to the dentist with my mom. Just seeing her in pain. I love my mom very much, and I desired to do so much more for her. And she kind of had like a rough experience going to the dentist. And so that's kind of what inspired me to go ahead and look at how diverse the field was. And so one of the reasons why I chose to go into dentistry was because I wanted to represent my community in this career. I saw that dentistry could involve more than just being a dentist. I'm really into advocacy, public health, oral health, and systemic health. And it was just a lot of the things that I was interested in that pushed me to go into dentistry and explore a little bit more about the career.
Yeah. And I'm glad you shared those points, because dentistry is more than just, teeth and the clinical side, and it is helping people, but it also allows you to not only help chairside, right, but also help on a larger scale, like you said, community, and being an advocate for people not only in your community but outside of your community, being an advocate for oral health, for their oral health, which is also part of their overall health or their physical health, right? So great to know that you uh, those reasons encompass all the things that you're looking to do and how you're looking to make a contribution through oral health. So thank you. Thank you not only for sharing that, but also thanking you for being part of this large international and global community where we're have very similar um, goals and aspirations as well. So as you aspire to become a dentist, you also realize very soon that you got to apply. You got to apply to schools, and it's a process. So tell us a little bit about your timelines and when you started the application process as well.
Right. So I decided to pursue dentistry in 2018. And as soon as I transferred, I tried to look for opportunities that would help me apply. I joined PDSOP, which is a pre-dental club at UCLA. I also talked to Dr. Hewlett more about the process.
Dr. Who?
Dr. Hewlett at UCLA.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yes. So I was able to meet him through a program I was in at UCLA. And so right when I graduated in 2020, I decided to apply to a postbac at UCLA to get me to work a little bit more on my science GPA, get a little bit more experience in volunteering and research. And so that application was actually like the actual dental school application. So I actually started my application 1 year before I applied. I was able to get 4 letters of recommendation, worked on my personal statement, just worked on my experiences. So I applied to that postbac. I got an interview, but I wasn't accepted. So I took 1 year to take more science courses, volunteer more, shadow more. And then following 2021, I was ready to apply because I had been working on those factors for a whole year. A lot of my help came from Bringing Smiles Dental Enrichment Program with NYU Dentistry.
Hey, I know that program.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, the program director is one of my former residents.
Really, Dr. Amale?
Dr. Rose Amale.
Awesome.
Amable. Yes. I did not know that. See, another way that we're connected. That's like the third way we're connected. I did not know that.
Yes, I love her. Yeah, she's been such a great inspiration and great supportive person. And so the program helped me a lot in my journey of applying. I was very confident when I applied because I did have their mentorship. I also had mentorship from Dr. Shaw for my interviews, and I was one of my greatest advocates. I saw a lot of support, and because I did have that support from my family and my mentors, I was able to be confident applying that year that I took off.
Yeah. Well, again, quick shout out to Bringing Smiles program out of NYU, Dr. Rose Amable. Check out the where is it at? There's a little link right here. You can check out this link that may be helpful as a resource for you as well. So yeah, the application process is something that you have to do. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin. Are you looking for some mentorship, some accountability, some help with getting all of this application and getting into dental school and getting into residency and then just your life as a new dentist? Look, I'm having monthly, twice a month, live coaching sessions and office hours so we can talk about all of that. I don't want you to struggle with the application process. I don't want you to struggle with getting ready for interviews. I don't want you to struggle about what list of schools and programs to apply to. We talk about all of that in our group, our monthly group called Dr. Darwin On Demand. Dr. Darwin On Demand. Check it out down below here. And then also, if you're interested and you want to get that help so you don't have to struggle anymore, so that you can get some mentorship, some accountability, and some help, hit this link right here. Hit that link right there so we can get you signed up and enrolled today. Today. Your future starts today. And I'm here to help you. This is Dr. Darwin. And join my members-only community called Dr. Darwin On Demand. Look forward to seeing you soon, okay? Now back to this episode. Enjoy. But there's a big thing that you have to do too. And it's a big alphabet type of alphabet type of test called the DAT. You remember that, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about your preparations. How did you prepare for the DAT? What were some of the things that were useful?
Right. So I think for praying for the DAT, it's important to be organized and to stick to a couple of resources that you feel are best for you. When I first started, I started out with just reviewing with Destroyer, but I felt like I needed something more to help me with active recall. So I decided to get DAT bootcamp. And something that helped me prepare better that I learned towards the end was to do more of the questions. I think I spent a little too much time reviewing, and I think I should have spent more time going through the questions at an earlier time. I think going towards doing the test will help relieve some stress because it is a timed exam. So I think timing was the factor that I struggled the most with because I do like to take my time taking exams. So I think that my preparation began to get better when I started to focus more on focusing on the questions that and the concepts that I didn't understand as well, and then doing a lot of the questions in the test banks. Another thing that helped me a lot was helping studying with my friends through Zoom. I think talking the material out with another person and getting their perspective on the concept and then sharing your own perspective really helps solidify your understanding. So I think my biggest tips are to find a study buddy for accountability to help each other and to start on those exams as soon as possible.
Awesome, awesome. Now I know that you're from the West Coast,
Yes.
but there are more dental schools than just only on the West Coast. So let's talk a little bit about um, how you came up with your list of programs, or I should say, a list of schools. Um, no, I mean we know what school you got into and where you're at, but I'm sure there were more than just one school on your list. So let's talk about the number of schools and why you chose those schools.
Great. So choosing my list of schools, since I am from SoCal, my desire was to stay in SoCal because I'd be close to family. But I chose other schools based on their location.
And that's Southern California for those that are on the East Coast, or those are in Florida, or down those that are in Texas that are listening, or even those that are international. SoCal means Southern California. Just to clarify for those that don't are not familiar with the terminology that we use or that we have used in the past. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. So I chose them based on location, on their mission, and based on whether like the people there when I interacted with them, how they treat their students, the faculty. And so because naturally I wasn't, I did go to UCLA for undergrad, I spent more time in the clinic there, volunteering there, talking to different students. And so that became my number one school that I wanted to get into. But another school that my top three was UCLA, USC, and NYU. And I really like that USC has a lot of volunteering in the community. They have different missions, they have different programs like Ayuda, where they help different populations of diverse people. And that's something that's really important to me to give back to communities in that way. So that's something I really admired about USC. UCLA, I really love the people here. Everyone's very collaborative. The students are really helpful. The professors always, from my time being here, they're very kind and they're very also helpful. And so I really like that UCLA has different clubs that emphasize and increasing diversity in different aspects, socioeconomically, ethnicity, getting to reach more diverse group of students. That's something I really liked about UCLA. And NYU, I like that they have a big class. And I like
Yeah, they got a big class. All right, they got
yeah,
the biggest class.
a
It's the
big
biggest
class.
dental school in the country. About 400 students each class. Each class. That's a lot of people, but yes.
So I like that because you get to meet a lot of people from diverse backgrounds, different walks of life. And I also had a support system there with BSTEP. So I knew I could do well in that environment, even though it was really far from home. And it was something I was looking into because it would be nice to be live somewhere different because I lived in SoCal my whole life. So those were my top 3 schools. Originally, I applied to 7, but I withdrew my application from one of them because I realized that I didn't see myself living in that state. So I didn't follow through with that one. But the other schools I applied to was UOP, CNU, Western, um, basically all the California schools.
I was getting ready to say all the West Coast joints, all the West Coast programs. Anything on the upper Northwest, like in Washington or Oregon? No.
No, it was
Okay.
California schools and NYU.
Got you. Got you. That makes sense. That makes sense. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that as at all. So you had those applications in. Usually, next step is waiting,
Right.
and then waiting some more,
Yeah.
and then probably waiting even more than that for your interviews, right? And getting selected for the next phase. So tell us a little bit about you mentioned 7 programs, really 6.
Mhm.
And so tell us a little bit about the number of interviews that you had, and then share with us maybe some of the strange interview questions that maybe you weren't prepared for or didn't know was coming, or just about the interview day as well.
Okay, so out of those 6 applications, I received 3 interviews and I attended only 2 of them. Um, and so most of the questions for UCLA, it was more conversational. They really try to get to know you. I had some ethical questions in my UCLA interview about, for example, if you saw a student cheating, how would you respond? How would you act? If you saw faculty talk about another student, how would you react to that? And I feel like that question was rather challenging, in my opinion, because I was not expecting a question like that. They talked about your strengths, your weaknesses. And then at the end, we talked about public health because that's something that really interests me. So I asked about their research. For USC, it was MMI format. And most of the questions were ethical based questions based on scenarios. Like,
Please share with MMI format, because there could be some pre-dental students that may not know what that means, and it'll be helpful for them to have some clarity.
Yes. So MMI stands for multiple mini interviews. And so the way that works is that you have different, if it was in person interview, you would have different stations. So for every question, you would go to a different faculty or professor to answer that question. And usually they give you a set amount of time to answer. So they'll read the question to you, they'll give you about a minute to think about it, and then you go ahead and respond. So for that interview, I prepared by doing a lot of mock interviews with BSCP, other dental students that I knew that went to USC. So I was pretty prepared for the questions because I did prepare ahead and ask for help. But most of the questions were based on, like, if you were a dentist, how would you handle the situation? Just a lot. They want to know your thinking process. So your answer is important, but more so explaining how you came to that conclusion. They want to know how you think about it critically. So that's something really important to keep in mind when answering. And if a question catches you off guard, it's okay to say, wow, that's a great question. Can I have some time to think about it? And that's not necessarily a bad thing to say because it shows that you're thinking about the question rather than just jumping into it.
Yeah, and making sure that you get some clarity
Yes.
for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Another trick, you guys are listening. This is why you got to listen all the way through. Quick tip: when you have a question that you need some more time to think about, another tip is you ask them a question about the question, right? So if they say,
Yes.
"Well, what are your thoughts on A, B, and C?" and you can say, "Great question. Now, is A before C or is C before B? Or do you want to know this part about A first Oh, you want to know this part about B first. Like you can ask a question to help you answer the question, and it may actually give you some more clarity and more details as to how you should structure your answer. So definitely something to consider in answering a question. So okay, good, good. Now once you had those two interviews, and I think I know what those two places. I know one of those two places. How did you decide between Pauley Pavilion and downtown LA?
Well, it was really exciting. I was like really thankful. And, I was really thankful that I had the option to choose between two schools in December. But ultimately, my heart was with UCLA. Go Bruins.
Yes.
I think also a big factor was cost.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. Can't forget the cost.
Yes.
Uh, what now? Was there a big difference, or was just it was not that much of a big difference, but because you did your undergrad at UCLA, there was just more like affinity towards uh um um where's the school at on LeConte, is it L LeConte Avenue, LeConte Street? I forget where is that. But yeah, yeah. So what was it about? Was that a factor too, or was it not as much? I know again, cost can be a factor for anywhere, whether it's the same city, if there's a dental school and there's two dental schools, or was it more because okay, I'm a little bit more familiar with UCLA. I'm gonna just keep keep stepping in that direction.
Right. So I think ultimately it came down to the decision that I was more familiar with UCLA
Mhm.
because I did spend a lot of time in the clinic volunteering and translating. I did know a lot of the faculty, a lot of dental students. So naturally, I felt like it would be an environment that would thrive more like better because I was
Yes,
familiar with the place. And so
exactly.
I did know like I was part of a lot of their clubs like HSDA,
Yep.
and I really like what I was involved in at the time. I was one of their editor in chiefs, and so as I wanted to continue that by being a dental student there, I wanted to give back to the community that gave so much to me in the time that was there, and so that's why I also chose UCLA.
Good. 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 So go Bruins. Go Dr. Dr. Hewitt, who's there, still there.
Yes,
He's
really,
been
I
there.
love
Oh my God, he's probably been there about 30 years, I think. Probably
that.
might be a little bit longer. But you've got a great diversity person, a great professor, great individual, leading the charge and getting you trained as a dentist. So that's great. Awesome, awesome. So, you know, you're smiling now. You're happy because you got in. You knew this almost a year ago when you first got the acceptance letter in December. But we all know that it has not been easy. There's been some challenges along the way and some rough and hard spots too. What would you say has been the what was the hardest part about this process in applying to dental school for you?
That's a really good question. I think one of the hardest aspects of applying is applying itself because I feel like as an applicant, I might have felt like, oh, am I good enough or have I done enough? But I think even though at moments I felt that way, I knew that I had the passion, I had the drive, and I was ready to apply because it's becoming a dentist is like my ultimate dream because in that way I could do so a lot for my community and other communities. So going back to your question, I think just believing in myself because I went to community college, and in that time, I kind of struggled a little bit with my grades in terms of time management. And it's something that I don't mind sharing with other people because a lot of applicants think that your transcript needs to be perfect or everything needs to be perfect. But we need to remember that we're all human and that we all go through some rough patches, whether that be academically or other things. And so I knew that I did have a lot of withdrawals on my transcripts. And when I came to UCLA, I did have a rough quarter where I needed to retake some courses in the summer, which I did get an A in later on. So I knew that academically, my transcript was not perfect, but I did do my best to take more science courses in my gap years to show an upward trend, to show that I was still perseverant and to show that I was trying to improve in that way. And so when it came to applying, I knew that perhaps schools weren't, they might look at that negative in a negative way, but I did demonstrate that I improved in my academics, and I had other strengths in my application, like community service was something that I'm very passionate, and that's something that brings me joy. I did other things like advocacy, like going to lobby day with dental students. So I did other things to kind of compensate for that rough patch in my application.
Yeah, and that's a great story, great testimony, and I'm glad you shared that because it is difficult. It is not going to be easy. You're going to have some starts and stops, and then restarts and stops, and then another restart, right? And which is all a reflection of life as well. And you said something that dear to my heart, which is having grit or being able to be perseverant
Yes.
and display perseverance is just part of the way through. It's part of the process. So the sooner that you can understand that it's a process and that there's going to be rough spots, some of the spots you're not going to know until they happen, and they're going to be can be unexpected. It's not what happens to you, but what you do when things happen to you, how you respond. So you have to be perseverant as well. So tips, advice, guys and gals, if you're listening, you listened all the way through. This is the bonus stuff. Is we gotta stay all the way through. Tips and advice, knowing what you know now as a first year D1 student that has gone to community college, has gone through undergrad at UCLA, that's done community service, that's taken the DAT, having to prep and utilize outside resources to get you ready. Knowing what you know now, what are 3 tips that you can share with pre-dental students about getting into dental school and their journey?
So I would say that number one, you need to be your greatest advocate. You need to advocate for yourself. If you need help, even though you're shy like I was, the sooner that you realize that when you ask for help, it's sooner than later, it's going to be better. I learned that if you need to connect with the mentor, go ahead and reach out. There's always lots of people here on like the Instagram community or at your schools that you can reach out to. So be your greatest advocate in whatever you need. And with that being said, always pay it forward. It's so rewarding to help another person, and it's just a beautiful thing to give up yourself and foster community amongst one another and be each other's light. And I think having a positive mindset, like you said before, like how you react to certain situations, like applying to dental school is a difficult journey, but once you're in dental school, like I've been told, it's another journey and just continues. So always trying to be positive. How you perceive things and approach things in challenging situations will help you become more resilient and have that grit to ultimately reach your goals.
Awesome. Really great tips and advice. And you're right. People won't understand it until they get into dental school, but getting into dental school is easy. It's the getting through dental school that is the real challenge. So once you've gotten to where you've gotten, student Dr. Maria, it's like, okay, yeah, it was hard, but I'm here. But guess what? Now the real challenge, because you got to do it like for the next 4 years and get through. So getting in, even though it sounds like it's a challenge right now, is easy. Because now once you get in, now you got to get through. You got to get through. And we are very glad to hear that you've gotten in, and now you're getting through, especially just completing your first couple of weeks of orientation. And we're also thankful that you were able to share your journey. So thank you so much. What's the best way for people to contact you if they have any more questions or just want to connect with you?
Of course. So I do have a studygram on Instagram where you can DM me, and I share tips and just like my life in dental school and about my journey. It's at The Lovely Studies. Or you can also email me at mariabellogarrillo@gmail.com. And I just want to end with you should enjoy all of the journey. Like, even failure is part of the journey. And I see failure as an opportunity for growth, for reflection, and setting new goals. And it shouldn't set you back, but rather propel you like forward to new avenues and to become more resilient in situation. And I just want to say that all of you are amazing, and that I'm rooting for all of you. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
Thank you. Well, guess what? We are rooting for you as well, because we know that D1 year is not easy. So we thank you, and we're rooting for you as well. Thank you for sharing your story, and it's been very helpful, guys. Ladies and guys, if you've been listening, she dropped some great gems on how to get in, but also how to deal with the process, and it's been very helpful. Guys, check out these videos here. Hopefully these are helpful as well. And guess what? That's our time. Love, peace, and smiles. We'll see you guys on the next video. See you next week.
Bye.